Louis Theroux's documentary on the Manosphere came out the other week, and there's been a fair amount of discourse and discussion surrounding it. For example, my friend Tom Nicholas has already made this video breakdown of some of his key takeaways, including that Theroux is probably a bit late in the game with making the documentary, and I think this is an interesting point to make for a couple of reasons. So firstly, because I just made a video on looksmaxing, which seems to be the ascending current within the Manosphere, with its own collection of characters and the intensification of specific masculinist dynamics. But this tendency isn't mentioned within the documentary, probably because it's just too recent. The second reason I think this is interesting is that I think many of the people in the documentary are probably aware of the quick man turnover within the sphere, so have had to react to the documentary in some specific ways. These include both leveraging the momentary zeitgeist to push their public profiles.
Maxwell,
Harrison,
you have a clear problem with it.
I have no problem.
Sir, you compare me to Myron and all the others in this homophobic, misogynistic, whatever world. I'm comparing you to Epstein then, because you're in his files.
Harrison.
Exactly.
You're making yourself look an even bigger idiot than you did on the Netflix show.
Oh, really? Really?
Yes. And relatedly, claiming that the criticism of their openly hateful content and personas are just for the content and not reflective of their true selves.
So many people right now will take everything that I've said in that documentary at face value and not actually have the brain cells to comprehend that maybe I say things and do things for a reaction because it makes me money and allows me to live this lifestyle.
It's all just rage bait. According to these dorks, if you believe the hateful things they say, then it's you who's falling into their trap. You're being baited for the clips and the content, which means that in the end, they win.
You're doing it because you think he's a controversial character, so you're making money off the back of it. And that's all your programs are.
For me, I think this is obviously bollocks, and frankly also seems quite pathetic. It falls within a longer strategy as well of far-right online culture, which has always used performative irony and it's just a joke to create some sort of cover for their obviously hateful politics. But since the documentary came out, I've also seen quite a few people who would obviously position themselves against the Manosphere back up the notion that these people are only saying their extreme shit for the shock value so they can get clicks, and either they don't really believe it or that even paying attention to them is playing into their game. And I find both these positions unhelpful, and they perversely play into the Manosphere's own self-justification. So in this quick wee video, I just wanted to explore briefly why it's important not to take these shitheads on their word, not to believe that they are just performing for the shock, but why you should take them at their word when they're saying shocking things, and why it's important, sometimes, to be rage baited. For decades now, the global far right has been attempting to mainstream itself, and in recent years it has done so to immense success. Part of this, and I do mean part of this is just a small bit and not the defining feature, which is more due to the underlying relations of production which reproduce racial and gendered hierarchies of oppression, but that's a story for another day. Part of this success has been due to the strategic use of jokes, memes and defensive irony, which sneaks far-right politics into mainstream discourse. And you can see this quite clearly through simple things like the mainstreaming of anti-Semitic memes like Noticing, which was originally about sniffing out Jews online but has moved further mainstream, or in the increasingly ubiquitous use of the R slur, even in left-wing spaces, which, to be clear, if I see you use, then I immediately lose all respect for you. And you might argue that the mainstreaming of these far-right things dilutes their far-right value. But I reckon that's only partially true. For things like the R slur, there's no way to dilute that meaning. It is a slur. And its increased use is straightforwardly dehumanizing, even and especially when it's just a joke. The framing of far-right messaging as a joke has been recognized as a component of the so-called strategic mainstreaming of the far right for quite a while. For things like Noticing, which are less immediately obviously originated in the far right, it might be true that the meaning is diluted through mainstream spread, but I also think that its spread makes the underlying hate more legible to everyone, while allowing the far right to identify each other and spread their messaging in a plausibly deniable way. And plausible deniability is the thing. It's the thing behind, it's just a meme, or it's just a joke, or with the Manosphere wanks, it's just for business and the clicks.
So many people right now will take everything that I've said in that documentary at face value and not actually have the brain cells to comprehend that maybe I say things and do things for a reaction because it makes me money and allows me to live this lifestyle.
If it's not a real reflection of what they truly believe, then it's somehow acceptable within the mainstream discourse. And if you take it seriously, then it's you who's the fool. And this is where rage bait comes in. Rage bait is the notion that by becoming angry at someone's racist or misogynistic content and replying to it or quote tweeting or making a video on YouTube about it, you've become so consumed by rage that you have 1. Lost all sense and rationality, which we can clearly see as a connecting line between contemporary Manosphere stuff and the kind of right-wing classical liberal rationality content from about 10 years ago.
These are facts, and facts don't care about your feelings.
And 2, you are inadvertently promoting the person you're mad at, generating clicks, playing right into their hands. And there are, some obviously gender dynamics to this. In a general sense, the notion of rationality has long been masculinized, with women expelled from the realm of the rational. The hysterical women getting mad at our jokes. Doesn't this just prove that we are the more intellectually capable gender? Within Theroux's documentary, this notion of men's supreme rationality is always sort of bubbling away. For example, in what for me was maybe the bleakest moment of the documentary, the podcaster Myron Gaines demonstrates for Theroux his business model of inviting women onto a show for a round of ritual intellectual humiliation.
Ladies, if you don't mind, could you name 2 countries?
The format seemed mainly a chance to embarrass the female guests.
Despite Gaines himself being obviously worked up at several points throughout.
As we continued, Myron became aware of the conversation.
I just messed up.
It's clear that he plays into this rage bait method by attempting to show women as stupid and irrational. But beyond the documentary, memes and jokes about being mad are ubiquitous. Losing your cool in any way which is not physical violence is considered unmasculine. Hence, rage bait is a trap, not just for clicks, but to prove a masculinist gender position. But it is still true that rage bait exists for clicks. It is attention grabbing when someone says something reactionary and you do want to respond to it. News programs have cottoned on to this, and I'm of course as guilty of being baited as anyone else. But I think there's a few things to keep in mind when discussing rage baiting in contexts like the spread of the far right through the Manosphere and all that horseshit. I think firstly, just because something is rage bait, it doesn't mean that the person saying it doesn't believe it. When HS TikTok claims that he just says the stuff he says for the clicks and for the money, framing it as a business decision, he's clearly just fucking lying. To use his parlance, it's cope. On a very basic level, you cannot constantly promote racism, misogyny, homophobia and everything else without being racist, misogynistic, homophobic and everything else. They are the things you do. But I think what is important here is that his justification for not believing his own shite is functionally the same as claiming it's just a joke.
Maybe I say things and do things for a reaction.
This means that just as we treat jokes as often illustrative of underlying social attitudes and as methods of mainstreaming the far right, so too should we treat rage baiting not just as clicks, but as cover to express the most deeply vicious attitudes. Turning it into a marketing strategy hides some of the horror behind a veneer of cold capitalism. And I think some people are comforted by the idea that, oh no, they don't really believe these things, it's just for the money, it's not quite real. And this is why I find it so annoying when people on our side join in with the claims that the Manosphere people don't really believe the shit they're selling. They absolutely do. They are also doing it for the money, clearly, but obscuring that the money and the beliefs are unified is part of the strategy. To undermine rage bait, you have to be able to make it unpalatable to be mainstreamed. You have to be able to place it front and center, and frankly, you have to not care about being angry. Being angry at these guys is good. But what about the clicks? Aren't we just helping them get rich? The short answer to this is no. These Manosphere guys have massive reach, which is distinct from the types of reach we each have. Identifying them and their strategies for spreading hate is not playing into their hands. I think the desperation with which HS is trying to hide his views is probably evidence of this. Someone I'm sure will try to bring up no platforming as analogous, but this is, I think, a different situation. If Twitch or Kick or whoever banned these guys, then that would probably be good. But being aware of these people and their views and how they transmit them is important. So too is visibly and constantly shitting on those views, getting angry at them, being baited. And I think this is maybe one of the problems with Theroux's documentary, actually. He mostly doesn't get baited. Louis' strategy of calmly letting subjects talk and talk until they look ridiculous works on many occasions. It actually works sometimes in this documentary.
Well, there has been scientific data that reflects this when it comes to females.
See, this is what
when
they talk about misinformation on the internet, this is what they're talking about.
But I think the times when it most obviously doesn't is when he's caught off guard being live streamed and turned into content himself. During those occasions, he tries to remain calm and not be baited into essentially fighting back.
Savil's your daddy, the Jew's your daddy, you know it, I don't give a fuck. This is why I say what I believe, and I don't need to edit anything, ever.
But it's in those moments when his subjects are just free to push their own reactionary poison without opposition. If Louis were willing to more forcefully push back, then I think he would have been more able to demonstrate that these guys are not just obnoxious and ludicrous, but that they are, in fact, poison. And I think this does work when Louis goes on Myron Gaine's podcast. There we see the patheticness of these men, not by letting them talk, but by pushing back and showing, his profound disgust with what he sees.
See, this is what when they talk about misinformation on the internet, this is what they're talking about.
In a recent reflection by Kate Mann, pointed out to me by a very helpful patron, Mann argues that Theroux's mild pushback is effective in demonstrating just how caught off guard these men are when another man challenges them, even mildly. For Mann, this demonstrates the profound lack of challenge that men face from other men when they express abhorrent views. And while this feature of the documentary makes it worthwhile for Mann, I think for me, her point highlights where Theroux failed and where he could have gone further. Fundamentally, all these Manosphere guys are cowards. They can talk and talk and talk, but if they get pushback, they crumple. And the irony of rage baiting is that these guys are terrified of the rage. They can't handle the pushback. They're children. Small, insecure children. So if you feel like you're being rage baited by someone, perhaps it's wise to take a breath. Consider what's making you angry. And then if it's reasonable to be enraged, just get baited. The Manosphere can thrive on being ignored. But I'm not sure it can thrive on being ridiculed. Alright, thanks for watching. This is just a quick video today. I'm trying to work on a few more. I've got another one on the Cuba and Iran situations ready to go in the editing suite right now. We are, I submitted my book to publishers. I finished some writing, some publications. Suddenly, I had a bit of time to actually focus on YouTube. So, we're going to work on trying to get some content fucking out there. If you missed the last video on Luke's Maxing and Mad Men, it's done well and I thought it was really good. So, if you want to watch that, please do. If you like my work and want to contribute, want to support me in any way, you can sign up to my Patreon from just $2 a month. All patrons, all paid patrons, get early access to videos, every single script I've ever written, and writing that hasn't been turned into videos yet. $5 and up get access to a Discord server as well, and $10 and up get access, get their names read out in the credits. If you like this video as well, please like and share and everything. The algorithm is a fucking nightmare these days, but we're doing our best and trundling along. With that said, let me read out the names of my beautiful $10 and up patrons, and then I'll let you all get on your way. I know you all love listening to credits anyway, so here we are, sticking around till the end. Thank you to Demo Squid, Dying of Thirst, Soval Hayes, Anita Anispe, Bonbon, Cameron Blakemore, Daniel Swing, Errol Grey T, Ellis Rin, FD Signifier, Hey Joe, Joshua Moldenhauer, Katie Marshall, Kim Crawley, Nina G Public Relations, S, Tom Hutton, Unoriginal Name, Violet, Aga Ghost, Aaron, Alex, Cade Soiree, Christopher Poff, Daniel Hughes, Duncan Skinner, Esoteric Fishgalism, Eugene K, J. Fraser Cartwright, Jack, Jacob Quinschenker, Joe, J. Barbara, Casper Gunda Vesserberg Larson, Kieran Gore, Layum, Mason Colbert, Melanie Estes, Margussi, Nelly Zacheva, Niels Abelgard, Paul Singleton, Theo Westfall, Rachel Ann, Rachel Mixon, Robin, Tamish Kispeter, TB Skyen, Tim, Tinfoil Pancakes, Tom Price, and Xander Corvus. And yeah, if you want to sign up, please do. I also have PayPal and Ko-fi and all that jazz linked in the description. And yeah, thanks for watching, and bye. Love you.